Three, two, one. We're live.
Hello and a very good evening. My name is Kitty Behan and you're joining us on this webinar Rebirthing in the Pandemic by the Positivity Project in partnership with Wellness Curated, TGL, Vivanta Resort, Hospital Guide, JSPL Foundation, World Connect and India Ahead. Now, there have been times during this last 1 year of COVID-19 that many of us might have felt disconnected from ourselves. Many of us have had troubles connecting with our friends, our families, and through all that has been going on around us has definitely taken a huge toll on our psyche. But little did we know that we weren't lost. This was indeed the process of finding oneself. Now, why do I say that? I think that can be better explained by our eminent guest here, His Holiness Tenzin Kunzang Jigme, who's the seventh Taklung matul rinpoche and is one of the heads of the Taklung Kagyu order of Tibetan Buddhism. Thank you so much for being with us today on this broadcast. His Holiness, please enlighten us.
Thank you for a very generous introduction, and thank you all for joining this event. I am very honored and happy to be part of this event, this project in a way. I think rebirthing after in pandemic, I think it's a kind of a topic that maybe is not very easy because the topic itself is very vast, and maybe there are a lot to say about it. So it might be a very tough topic, but I agreed to speak about it mainly because I thought in a situation like this, I think there are many people who might perhaps be in need of such a conversation, because due to the pandemic and due to all these problems that we are going through because of the pandemic, we come to realize a lot of things about life. We have actually we have a lot of time to reflect on our lives as well, which is why I think it is important that we have some kind of discussion about topics such as this. Generally speaking, in our lives, when we are busy with our day-to-day existence that we used to be before pandemic, we are kind of lost in our own busyness, in our own usual things that we do. So much so that we don't have probably the time to reflect on our own lives. We don't have probably a lot of time to reflect on our own thoughts, and we probably don't have a lot of time to reflect on the purpose of our life. But because of the pandemic, because we are locked in and we are left alone with ourselves to deal with, it also kind of gave us this unique opportunity to reflect on our lives, to think about our lives that we have never thought before. And that is why probably I thought it was a good idea to talk a little bit about it. when we look at our lives, we are surrounded by so many things, like television, for instance, that are very smart. These smart technologies, including television. When I was a little kid, um, back then, my dad used to bought a huge TV. It's a very bulky television set that we have used to have in our home. But nowadays, um, you know, television set as small as a picture frame can be hung on the wall, and it doesn't consume any space. It is just there, and it is way more smarter than those television sets that we used to have. And when I first got my mobile phone back in 2003, my set was a very primitive compared to what we have now. It could basically send few SMS and receive SMS, and then do some calls on the phone. That was its function. It doesn't have a lot of functions. But nowadays we have uh, phones that are extremely smart, and that's why we call it smartphone. Likewise, we have so many other gadgets that are extremely smart, our own invention, actually, to be, when we look at it. But we are fascinated by what they can do, what kind of facilities they can provide to us, what kind of service they can provide to us. But we call them smart TV, smartphone, and smart gadgets. They are, in so many ways. And the reason why I was talking about all these things is because our life is pretty much consumed by all these gadgets that are available to us. We not only use them, but to some extent we are lost in them, so to speak. We are lost in our own invention, and to some extent we are controlled by those devices. But we have a time to reflect on our lives. We are trying to kind of look at our lives as it is, and despite the fact that so many smart gadgets we surround ourselves with, when we look at ourselves, we are not very sure whether we are that intelligent, or we think about things intellectually that much. And I think it is a good time that this pandemic really brought about the opportunity to really reflect on ourselves, our lives, the purpose of it, and all of that. And we probably look at ourselves as an intelligent being. Although we have created these very smart devices and very smart facilities around us, and we let them do a lot of the works that we otherwise would have to do on our own. But probably due to that, we are relaxed in our own selves, and we don't probably reflect in our day-to-day existence as much as we should, and we could. And that is the reason, probably the reason why we have we are trying to reflect on ourselves, and we are trying to look at ourselves as a intellectual being, being who is capable of thinking about things intellectually, and who can who can look into one's own life and reflect deeply. And that is probably what we need to do at this point. And by the way, we have this unique opportunity like never before, because otherwise, if it is not pandemic, if it is not lockdown, if we are not locked up in our own houses and rooms, then we might be lost into all of these inventions that we have created. And that is why I think it is time, an opportunity for us to reflect on ourselves. By that, what I mean is we try to look at ourselves as somebody who can develop and who can change if he or she wants. Somebody who can change their own habits, their own ways of thinking, and their own emotions. And that is how we can probably change a lot of our experiences that most of us go through, the experiences of happiness, experiences of sadness, and the like. And that is why, it is a good opportunity that we try to look into ourselves and see what is some of the factors that can actually bring about the experience that we love to have. Experience such as happiness, experience such as satisfaction, experience such as positivity, experience such as optimism. We often try to encourage one another to be strong, to be optimistic, to be positive. But when it comes to our own lives, sometimes there is not necessarily a clarity in terms of whether or not we can continue to be optimistic, we can continue to be positive, we can continue to be strong, although we really wish that we can, but whether or not we definitely can is not necessarily a certainty. And that is why we can probably look into ourselves and see what are the potentials that we have, where we can be able to maintain our sanity, maintain our optimism, maintain our positivity when we go through certain difficult phases in our lives. And that is why I think looking at ourselves as if it is somewhat like a gadget, somewhat like these smart devices is extremely important. When we look at our physical body, for instance, our physical body is equipped with all the sensory perceptions that can directly navigate our way out, and that can actually have the full orientation while we are alive. And not only that, our physical body can protect itself. Long time ago, not so long time ago, but a few years ago, I met an osteopath in Europe, and I had a little bit of a problem back then, and she helped me treat. And during the treatment, she told me that our body is trying to help us, very much so. It doesn't want to be in pain. It doesn't want to, have the problems, physical ailment of some sort. It wants to help us. And the job of an osteopath is to direct the body so that it can help you, so that it can, do its job, so to speak. So we have a very smart body, so to speak. And when we also think about our other possession, which is called mind or consciousness, it is also very, fully equipped with a lot of things to it. According to the Buddha, Buddha said that as long as we have a thing called consciousness, as long as we have a thing called mind, that very element has what he calls the Buddha nature, or the Tathagata Garbha, which means it has all the necessary qualities to fight against the problems, the ailments of the mind. The ailments of the mind are ailments not because they are, they are negative, they are inherent negative or something like that, but mental ailments are ailments because we as an individual wish to be happy, and some of the mental experience that we go through actually harm our happiness, our peace of mind, our serenity, and that is why they are ailment. And like the body is fully equipped with helping itself, fighting against different diseases, different ailments, our mind is also equipped with lots of things such as positive thinking. Usually when we speak to a pessimist would give you list of the reasons why you should be pessimist, and if we look at the reasons one by one, it really they really sound true, they really sound right to some extent. But when we try to stay positive, when we try to be positive, sometimes probably we have less of a reason to be optimistic, to be positive. Because when we go through certain situations in life that are hard, that are difficult, that are full of problems, it is definitely very difficult to maintain the sense of positivity. But if we strive, sense of positivity really develops, and that is why our mind is also equipped with all the necessary qualities to fight against some of the mental ailments, some of the mental problems that are only kind of makes us suffer further, and that is why that is the reason why I think like body, our mind is incredibly smart, and that is why we have to look at our mind, our mental quality, as an object that is very smart. It has all the elements necessary to fight against the problematic mental inhibitions. So talking about that, I think we cannot talking about that, I think it is very relevant to talk about part of the subject that we are going to discuss, that is meditation. The word meditation, or otherwise gom in Tibetan, Gom means to get familiarized to, or to get familiarized with. That is the equivalent word for meditation. And after familiarizing with what you wanted to develop within yourselves, gradually things start to pick up, and it gets established gradually. And that is why if we have this opportunity to think about ourselves as an intelligent being, think about our mind, the mental quality that we have, uh, that we all possess, as something of a very smart device, much like our cell phone, maybe 100 times more sophisticated than our smartphone and our laptops and all the other gadgets that we usually play, that we usually spend a lot of time with. And that is why this pandemic really had this, gave this opportunity for us to look into ourselves and figure out our own strength in some ways. And talking about that, strength doesn't develop just like that. We have to spend some time developing our own strength. We have to spend some time, trying to perfect some of the qualities that are diamond in the rough right now, which is our mental qualities that people like the Buddha have acquired, and all the other great masters have also acquired this fantastic mental quality, and they have actually worked really hard, and as a result they have established and developed some of the incredible mental strength, mental beauty that we can also develop, because according to the Buddha, we have the thing called Buddha nature, we have the thing called Tathagata Garb. So if we strive to perfect these qualities, we are not only be able to develop these, but established these qualities as well. And and that is the reason why meditation is an important topic to discuss, because like I said, meditation, no matter how fancy a word it might sound, in essence, according to the Tibetan word gom, which is the equivalent word for meditation, means just to get familiarized with and familiarized to. It is studying, it is learning, and through these process you are able to develop what you want. And once we see and understand that we, no matter how sometime we ignore our better qualities, no matter how much sometimes we experience lack of self-esteem, because on one hand, we have a lots of expectation from ourselves, but on the other hand, we so many times fail into doing what we wanted to do. That is why there is definitely this disappointment sets in. There is definitely this lack of self-respect sets in. That is why this lack of self-esteem takes place within all of us, actually. And that is why we have to try to figure out, to understand that we as a human being, ultimately we have a lot of strength within ourselves. If we strive a little bit, try to bring them out, it not only develops, but you can establish ultimately too. And and that is why meditation is necessary. Meditation is important, because unless and until you try to get familiarized with yourself, with something that you want to develop on and establish. There is no way that daydreaming can bring us any closer to our goal. Um, and that is why practice is important. By practice and by meditation, we don't mean anything else. We just mean very loosely that we are trying to establish on our better qualities that we want to see, within ourselves. And why do we call some of the things better qualities? Because these are some of the things that can actually give us a lot of satisfaction in life. These are the things that actually give us a lot of happiness in our life, which is what we seek, all of us, and ultimately all of these has a very strong element of spirituality. By spirituality, I don't mean religion. I think there is a difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is a way and means to obtain spiritual essence. Spirituality means something that we cannot do without, ultimately. Like Descartes, one of the French mystic, once said, just to paraphrase him, we are not a human being experiencing spirituality, but we are a spiritual being experiencing human quality. This really is very true, because fundamentally and ultimately our very spiritual nature within all of us is something that we cannot separate from ourselves. We cannot do without these spiritual quality within us. Maybe it is not very easy to always have compassion going for other people. Maybe it is not always easy to forgive people. Maybe it is not always easy to be tolerant about some of the treatments that are unfair. But fundamentally, if we are tolerant, if we are compassionate, it really makes us much stronger. And unless and until we are strong enough, there is no genuine compassion and forgiveness and tolerance that would actually come out of us. So very often the case is, that we are very strong within, and these experiences actually makes us feel very happy about the whole thing, feel satisfactory, which is what we are looking for in life. In case of material good, I might say, well, if somebody asks me what you want, maybe I'll say, I want a Ferrari car, and a fancy one. But what if I get one? Maybe I'll say, this is not the type of Ferrari I want. I maybe want something else, well customized for me, particularly, specifically. But then if you suppose get that too, will you feel satisfactory the whole of your life with that car? Probably not. At some point down the line, there is a complaint that this car is not this, not that. It doesn't have this equipment, that equipment. So material things, no matter how attractive they might seem at the beginning, have its own flaw and shortcomings that we come to realize later on, or we are not satisfied with material good. We are looking for something else through material good. We are probably looking for something much bigger than the Ferrari car, than private jet or something like that. So that is why when we try to really understand the depth of our desire and our desire for a particular thing, we come to realize that ultimately we are seeking for some kind of satisfaction out of these material good by possessing them. And when we don't have that satisfaction, we are back to square one. We have extra material, but that's about it. We are looking for something else still. And that is why spiritual tradition is, it cuts through all these nonsense, so to speak, and it directly captures the essence. And the essence is, we are looking for satisfaction. We are looking for happiness. Maybe the term happiness and satisfaction is overly used to the point where it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. But when we, try to kind of understand it with a deeper sense, then we come to realize that it means a lot. It means it is not just an empty cliche of some sort, but it has a deep meaning to it. And that is why, going back to our point, that is why we are very much spiritual. We are actually looking for a very similar thing at the end of the day. We might have a different attraction towards material good that we stuck at, and when our fancy and vanity is vanished, then we are back to square one. We'll still looking for something else. Deep down, we are all looking forward to have a deeper satisfaction, deeper meaning in life. That is why we are very spiritual in essence. And that is why, like the Descartes said, we are all spiritual being ultimately. And once we understand that, we will try to work on our spiritual depth, so to speak. We want to work on it, and we want to develop some of the qualities, spiritual qualities we have, and then we can probably choose religion. It's secondary, but spiritual, the importance of spirituality is something that we cannot ignore or we cannot neglect, because it'll always be there. We might be very fancy about something, and then next day we're looking for something else. So this nonsense keeps on going unless we stumble to the essence of it. And that is why it is extremely important to develop some of our inner strength, some of our inner spiritual qualities. And to do that, there is nothing else better than what we call meditation that does it fantastically. So meditation, first of all, again, is a word that is overly used, and people have all sorts of ideas about what meditation might be. But here in this session, we will try to do try to introduce very brief meditation technique. One of the things that we call shamatha in Buddhist meditation technique, we try to mainly focus on our breathing in order to go deep within ourselves, because we are so absorbed by our life, our surroundings, all these possessions that we have, and modern life, due to work, due to family, all of these, due to all of these, we are consumed a lot. So we are trying to first come to a halt. This pandemic in some ways have done that. It really abrupted our normal life as it is, and it has halted our life. So at this point, what we can do is we can meditate on shamatha by focusing on our breathing. When we breathe slowly, in and out, inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, exhalation, there is natural calmness that sits in with the deep breathing. And once there is this calmness, then we can place our concentration on top of the breathing. So by doing that, what we are actually doing is we are trying to bring the two very important quality of our mind, namely clarity on one hand and stability on the other. What do I mean by that? Is when we are absolutely distracted, when our minds are jumping all over, there is a huge amount of clarity in place. But because it jumps from one object to the next so fast, there is no possibility to kind of sit still at some object, chosen object, and deepen it, deepen our understanding, deepen our thoughts and ideas. So there is no stability. It's just a car that only has accelerator but no brake at all. That's how we used to behave when we are absolutely distracted. On the other hand, when we are feeling groggy, when we are tired, when we are feeling sleepy, there is lots of stability, but there is no clarity. And that is why it also doesn't help much, because it doesn't have this edge to figure out what is going on, it doesn't have the clarity edge to it. So that's why mind goes back and forth between clarity and stability, but distraction and dullness, like a pendulum of a clock. It goes back and forth, back and forth. So we are trying to, here in the case of shamatha, we are trying to retain the clarity by focusing on our breathing as clear as possible, but at the same time halting there by creating and developing the stability quality to it. And by doing that, we are actually combining two very important elements of the mind that would actually bring us to something. And that is what shamatha is in a nutshell. And after shamatha, we can do vipassana. Vipassana, in the case of vipassana, the clarity aspect is slightly deepened, so that it doesn't stay just mere clarity in the level of clarity alone, but it actually goes much deeper, further into the chosen object of meditation. And that would actually help us to gain more insight of the chosen object of meditation, whatever it is. You can choose to first develop shamatha on chosen object such as breathing. Breathing is fantastic because it doesn't have a religious connotation to it. That is first and foremost very important quality to it, and it is available 24/7. And nobody have any difficulty understanding what breathing is, and that is why it is not only available to all of us as long as we are alive, but there is no complexity as well. So that's why meditation is straightforward. When it comes to shamatha, you just have to have a little bit of an instruction. Otherwise, you are good to go. So that is the beauty of breathing meditation. After that, once you develop, there are 9 different stages actually. It is not as easy as it sounds, but also it is very much available to all of us. So there are 9 different stages, 9 different levels in terms of gaining more and more strength, both in the field of clarity and in the field of stability. And bit by bit, once you are able to retain both clarity and stability at the same time without any problem, you have actually developed what we call shamatha, after which it is time to deepen our insight. It is clear, it is stable. Now it's good to go. It is good to go and investigate and try to gain more insight, because wisdom is extremely important. Our psychology have 2 different aspects of it. One is intellectual aspect. By intellectual aspect, I don't mean it is intelligent all the time, but the reasoning part of the psychology is there. So this part of the psychology only deals with the reasoning aspect of it. The other part of our psychology is the emotional part, the feeling part, and once we come to understand something, once we try to reason something to ourselves and come to convince that this is this and that is how we develop feelings, that is how we gain emotion. So in order to develop positive emotions, it is extremely important to develop wisdom, because the wisdom is going to support the positive emotions that we seek to develop, such as love, compassion, and tolerance, and all of that. Only because it develops us in a better human being. It brings more change, the change that are not only necessary, but change we would like to see in ourselves. And these are mainly the changes are mainly of an emotional nature, but we have to we have to trigger it through our intellectual part of the psychology, the reasoning part of the psychology. So that is why after shamatha is developed, or once the shamatha is developed, now you are trying to deepen your insight, your knowledge, so that you can actually develop a very powerful emotions that you seek to develop within yourself. And I think this is how much time we have for this session. I am extremely honored to be part of this, and I thank you, all of you who came to be part of this event. And I thank you all of you for organizing this wonderful event. Thank you so much.